Hey guys, Jensen here once again with another episode of Worlds Daily. Today we'll be covering the game between Team Wills against Team BDS, and I'm going to be addressing the Adam issue. And more importantly, we're going to be examining some of the tactics that went on in this game and how Team Wills used a very creative tree-lane approach to put BDS in paralysis, exploiting some of the weaknesses that BDS has in their macro concepts. Now, the expectation going into this match would be that the LEC 4th seed would take an easy victory over the Vietnam 2nd seed. Now, this has a few reasons behind it, largely that BDS is a lane team that stylistically is preferred against the tree lane style the Team Wills employs. There's a potential mismatch in the top lane, and this is a major region against a minor region after all, and BDS is coming off hot with a very hot streak of momentum after their 3-0 series against Golden Gardens in the World's qualifying series. Now, Game 1 pretty much lived up to those expectations, with Adam getting his signature Darius pick, and Team Wills trying to answer with the likes of Renekton opting to go for the Ignite Summoner spell instead of Teleport. This turns out to not really work out for the Vietnamese squad as Darius absolutely dominates the matchup as BDS snowballs game 1 through the top lane and Adam achieves an 8-0-4 scoreline at the end of the game. Now, this continues in game 2 as well as BDS is able to take a slight lead in the early game, and this is where the 2 lane against 3 lane advantage kind of comes true, where you can see the 0-4-1 into bot side collapse against Team Wills 1-2-2 as displayed on the mini map on the screen here, where they're able to find picks onto the likes of Glory and force these 5 versus 2 numerical advantage fights, and then convert that into the third Drake that puts them onto Soul Point. However, things started to go a little bit downhill from BDS at this point of the game, where Adam starts to be a little bit distinct from the team, and it seems that he disrespected Team Will's turn to answer the side lanes and greets for the bot lane tier 2, something that seems to be a trend throughout the series itself. Through this pick, Team Wills is able to neutralize the plus map advantage that BDS has, putting it in an even game state. Now, this is where we have to examine the draft approach that Team Wills had against BDS. They attacked BDS draft by banning out the likes of Orianna and Maokai, two of the big stable champions in terms of the big engaged mage mid laner with the AoE wombo combo from the Shockwave, as well as Maokai, which gives them a very easy access to a team fighting tank jungler. While BDS was able to find some replacements in terms of classes for these champions, this definitely did remove some of the big engaged tools that enabled them to take on team fights. Instead, what BDS ended up with is a team composition that hinged largely on Talia and Ezreal to do damage, transforming them from an all-in team fight team composition into a Kaidan re-engaged composition. When they started up the Baron in this game, they were put in a situation where you could see that this setup was for a very different type of composition, where if they had the likes of Orianna Maokai, this would be the rel going forward, and they'll be hitting a large wombo combo onto their opponents. Instead, despite the Talia wall coming in, BDS wants to be kiting back in the scenario and instead enables Team Will's all-in team composition to then find picks and allow the resets from the Viego to come true, allowing Team Wills to win the first major fight that really swings the pace of this game as a whole. When you're playing the likes of a Talia and Ezreal, you really want to be playing much further up. You don't necessarily want to be starting the Baron, and you want to spend time chunking out the opponents using control of the line push instead, and then kiting them back into the Baron bit once they are at a lower health. The mistakes continue to come true from BDS as once again Adam seems to be the fish out of water in these scenarios, where the 0-4-1 deployment for BDS, where they're behind on the map, puts Adam in trouble, allowing Team Wills to then collapse into him, converting this into two inhibitors, and from this point, Team Wills are able to win the second game and tie the series up 1-1. So, is this just an Adam issue with him always being the one being caught out, or is this a worrying trend as a whole for the likes of BDS, who started off so hot with the 3-0 against Golden Gardens in the qualifying series? Now, you can analyze this and say that this is Adam disrespecting the opponent's turn to influence sides and pinning blame onto him, but if you were to look at this from BDS's perspective as a two-lane team, I do think that they have some core fundamental issues where they're not helping him out enough. And there's evidence to suggest this as well. When we take a look at the third game, where Team Wills is the one who is able to get in the driver's seat, from the early game, we do see Team will cycle. And I have to say that this is a very good use of their map movement, where they use a very classic tree lane setup, where they go 0-4-1 and into 1-3-1, where you can see this cyclical movement of Sparta on the Cassandre to keep BDS pin in position, where they're not able to advance the map state at all. And Team Wills is very effectively do farm 3 quadrants of jungle while securing 3 lanes of farm itself. If you were to rewatch the game for a good 3 to 4 minutes, Adam's actually just stuck in this posture of bot lane, just forced to sit under his turret and collect the wave in the scenario. So perhaps in terms of BDS's macro setup, when they're behind on the map, they need to give Adam a little bit more help. Still, this doesn't change the fact that team-based macro aside, there's a clear disconnect between Adam and the rest of BDS. As one of the many multiple examples shown, he once again is seen greeting for a turret. In this case, you can argue that, hey, there's 4 people here in mid lane, does split core assaults because you see us recalling, and Adam is solo just walking up trying to hit this plate. Whereas if BDS stayed for this could have been a play trying to be faster on the map and then use this to bail out Nuke in the bot lane of Syndra. And with that, that recaps my Team Wills versus BDS tactical breakdown. I do think that while BDS has some key issues when playing from behind as a dueling team, props definitely goes to Team Wills in terms of executing their tree composition to keep BDS spin, and props to them for finding the attacks to put BDS out of the comfort zone, and it showed that BDS didn't really know how to execute once you took away some of the big engage and teamfight options away from them. Would this provide the blueprint for BDS's future opponents in the future? I'm not too sure. I do think the European side can still bounce back from this, but it's definitely glad to see one of the Vietnamese teams take out one of the major region teams. Now with that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this has given you some insight into the tactics that is being used at the World Championship here. And with that, I hope you have a nice day and get hyped for Worlds.